Welcome to Mastery Fractional CFO's Punchy podcast, short, impactful podcasts where I speak with business leaders from all walks of life about business. I'm your host, Ryan Chenier. I'm the founder and CEO of Mastery Fractional CFO Services. And today I've got with me Dean Stanzel. Dean is the president of Top of Mind Gifts. Dean and Top of Mind Gifts empower businesses to stand out from their competitors and improve client-employee relationships through unforgettable, world-class gifts that keep you top of mind forever. Dean, tell us about who you are and what you do. Tell us about your business.
Sure. Well, I'll do a very quick background. I'm an engineering physics graduate by education, and what I do now has nothing to do with that, but I am kind of a inquisitive numbers kind of guy. Went through and actually got recruited into sales right at the end of my university career. Long story short, went through some sales. I started up a financial services company myself, ran that for 10 years, and then took some time off. And full circle, my daughter was recruited by the same company I was 25 years later and got me back in touch with some of the management. And the primary, a lot of people think of me as a promo company when they first hear about it, like gifts, top of mind, that kind of thing. But the reality is I work mainly with two products and only two products. One being Cutco knives. A lot of people have heard of that, but they're around 75 years, manufactured in the States and been in Canada 35 years. But they guarantee their product forever, and that's important later. The other one that's a little bit newer is the pop-up cards. And again, we're fairly unique there. We're the only company that does what we do in North America and fairly limited on a worldwide basis too. So my business itself is not product related. It's not focused on trying to sell somebody the next shiny object, but it's about how to help a business be and stay top of mind because there's a lot of referral opportunities out there. Most businesses have happy clients, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, even though they say they would refer the business, the reality is that they can't remember the name to refer, as simple as that is, in the 5 or 6 seconds that you have the attention span of somebody asking for a referral. And that is huge because everybody loves referral business. So my product, my business is really about helping businesses address that. How do you stay truly top of mind so that you can get those referrals?
And so, how would you describe your target market, Dean?
I have a great product. People love it. They give it out. It's appreciation. Thank you. Gratitude is where it's at today, if you will. And it's something that most people use and they use every day. A couple of the key things that a lot of people don't realize, if you're in sales, you've probably heard of the 8 to 12 touches before you break through and make a connection with somebody. Further than that, you need about 37 or 38 touches per year to stay top of mind. And when I say top of mind, it's not, I think of you, I remember you. It's, I can say your name when put on the spot. What's your wife's name? You don't have to think about that. That's where you need to be with the client to get those kind of referrals. And it is very hard to achieve with almost weekly organic touches. So that's why we used Cutco to start with, because everybody cuts food, everybody uses knives, and we stick with the basic products because they use them every day. And those two components are key to that top of mind awareness. So with that in mind, it's always a tough question because what business doesn't need to show gratitude or appreciation to its clients? And what business doesn't want more referrals? Pretty much everybody. So I like to think that I am a good solution for almost everybody. The reality is that I'm a higher ticket, higher price, higher quality type of system and service. So I would say the biggest limiting factor is more the dollars and the ROI. If you've got clientele that you're doing $25, $50, $100 services for, you can't afford to do $100 gifts. On the flip side, if you're doing coaching or contracting or real estate and you're spending tens of thousands of dollars with a business, that business not only should and can afford to, but needs to support that kind of appreciation to keep those relationships in place. Typical examples, I mean, really, it's all over the map. Like I said, coaching, the white collar, financial services, accounting. Traditionally, real estate is a huge one because there's a natural giving aspect to that. Home developers, contractors, any type of business that's got very valuable clientele. And I don't say that meaning that smaller businesses and smaller clientele aren't valuable, but when a single referral can offset years worth of gifts or is a significant portion of a company's revenue. It's more important to keep those people happy and to keep them on the books. And those are the kind of people that I help target and stay top of mind with. Does
Yeah,
that answer the question?
it does. So you're saying Cutco, the Cutco brand, the products that you're talking about here, these are not cheap gifts. These are nice gifts. And for somebody who's looking for that for a client or anybody along those lines, it's the right kind of gift relative to all the other options. This isn't like a cheap pen or a t-shirt. This is a nice product. And along with that, tell me a little bit about how you tailor these products so that they are better gifts. I mean, I think you can do branding on the blades of the knives and things like that. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, to be top of mind, obviously you have to have something that is top of mind. So putting a logo or a name, there's an interesting trend. It used to be get my logo on there, you put my name, my phone number. It was almost advertising, which at the time was still conveying information. For even just the last 5 years or so, there's started to be a shift towards less focus, less marketing, less advertising, an attempt to be more in the realm of gratitude and appreciation. And that has a lot of times taken things from, maybe removing websites and phone numbers. You don't need to have an advertisement. You need to have a message saying with gratitude or thanks so much for your business or loved working with you. I'm still a big advocate of having a company logo on there. Because I think if it's done in the right way, in a classy way, it actually it elevates the gift more than anything. It makes it really nice, and it reminds the person, the relationship and everything else. But you can put names, you can tailor it, you can custom to the person themselves. If you're giving a gift and it's Frank and Mary, whatever, the owners of the company, if you can address their gift to them directly, it's just got a lot more meaning and attachment and has a bigger impact for them. So yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, whatever makes it the most memorable. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. What strategies have been effective for you, Dean, when it comes to marketing the product and advertising and getting the word out there and developing your business?
Yeah. Well, I would say, first of all, in-person networking, or not in-person, networking as in directly talking to people. Mm-hmm. It's funny because although I end up having a product that I sell people, the nature of what I sell is, again, it's not a product. So advertising, doing all the social media, things like that, they haven't really worked effectively. So for me, I do tons of networking. I go all over the world. I do virtual conferences, talk to people one-on-one and build those relationships. From a little bit more of a cold standpoint, I really haven't ever done a lot of paid advertising. I suppose there's certain things that make that work, but kind of in line with the business. If it's high end, if it's relationship, if it's geared more at a personal level, it's just not the right media. But using the Cutco, I've also done some pretty creative things, I think, and I've taken some knives, done kind of just done what I tell everybody else to do, put engraving on them, custom tailor them, not to a client to say thank you, but I've done it as a prospecting tool as well. So I may put your company's logo and name on it, and I've sent them out just blindly. It's totally not marketing. It's surprise gift out of nowhere. And it creates that curiosity. And I've gotten into conversations and kind of gotten behind the gatekeepers, if you will, a number of times on some pretty high levels with people that got this gift. First of all, they're actually going to get the gift. It's not going to be funneled away by the people at the front. Not only that, there's no ask, there's no, there's no note, hey, I want to have a meeting, anything like that. It is truly a no strings attached gift. Thank you, congratulations, whatever you want to put. But I do always follow up then. I'm pretty systemized. So I've got a CRM and all this stuff is orchestrated behind the scenes, but I'll have a follow up between 1 and 2 weeks as I track the shipping. And just to call and say, hey, is so-and-so there? I wanted to confirm they got their gift. And that, again, what receptionist, what middle person is going to say, no, you can't talk to them, right? Or, I want to see how they like their gift. They have to pass that on. And again, I'm just calling to actually ask about that genuinely. So I asked them, did you get it? What did you think? Hey, I hope you appreciate it, enjoy it. And the nature of, human nature, reciprocity, almost always it's, why did you send this? This is such a nice thing. Why did you do it? What do you want? And again, I'll come back with, Nothing. I just wanted to meet you. I wanted to do something nice. And hey, if you see this, if it's something you like, I can help you with it for your clients. And I've had conversations, probably the best conversations that start out not about business at all, really. They're just about, we get into skiing or we get into golf or cooking, knives, obviously cooking. And those then lead back into the business down the road because once people know that you truly care and are interested in them, then the business comes after that, and kind of naturally, if it comes. A lot of times there's nothing that comes of it, and no problem. I'm not there to push people, or I think sales, so to speak, has a bad rap, mainly because it implies you're trying to convince somebody to do something. I think of it more as education. I want you to be aware that this is out there, that this is how it works, and to experience it yourself. And if you like it, then I can duplicate it. And the nice thing for me is that there's very, very, very few people that do what I do. So I'm not in a commodity business. I'm not trying to nickel and dime and negotiate the best price. What I offer is the service. And if people like it, I love working with them. And if they don't, that's okay.
Well, Dean, you and I initially got in contact with one another on LinkedIn, and I don't remember who initiated it, frankly, but we had a discussion, and you did stay top of mind with me. I will say that your approach is pleasurable, pleasant. I have not felt like I was being sold anything, but at the same time, I can tell that the product you are providing is of quality, and honestly, it's one of the things that we're looking at in our budget for this coming year. So I like your approach. Now, just to change the gears a little bit, you would not describe your business as an e-commerce business, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so now if somebody wants to get a hold of you or wants to talk about, hey, what do I do to become a client of yours, or what kinds of options can we look at together? How would I might maybe use you to most effect? What's the best way for somebody to reach out to you or to begin that process?
Yeah, of course. And I'm accessible. I guess kind of goes with what I say. So I'm guessing you're going to provide the information somewhere, the chat, like they say, or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can look me up. My website is, just like the name, top of mind gifts, plural.ca. My phone number, I take my own calls. So 306-229-6411. And my email is, again, dean at topofmindgifts.ca. Mainly people reach out. We do a kind of a discovery call. I find a little bit more about what the business, wants or needs, how I maybe, hopefully can help with that. And then we put a plan in place and take next steps. It's not transactional in the sense that I need to know a lot about who you're targeting, why you're targeting them, how you're targeting them, to be able to help you most effectively deliver. And that's, of course, it's in my best interest and your best interest to have the best experience for your customer, which is the end objective.
So, Dean, how would you describe your business today? Are you a one man band, or do you have a team? And what's your plan for the future?
I guess you could say sort of a one man band. I don't have any employees. I have contractors that I have subcontractors, and that is definitely intentional. I've been on the other side of the fence. I've had the employees, and I just personally, I'm not interested in that type of business anymore. I love technology and automation though, so I've scaled and set up a lot of things that take the place and basically run the business without me having to be involved. And I think that that's key these days. There's, AI technology, you kind of have to get on board or you're going to be left behind. So I do a lot of that, but there's still a lot of human things like ultimately, I guess my perfect world or business would be all I do is face to face or Zoom, face to face over Zoom meetings. Like I said, with those consultations and get things going, and the automations and the assistants, handle everything else from there. That's the most fun part of the business and working towards that. But I picked the products and the structures and everything to be fully scalable and automatable in the same capacity. So I can work with a local business that, has 10 clients they want to look after. I can look after a multinational business that wants 5,000 gifts. I can strategically help them with logistics and drop shipping or getting the product right to them in their own hands. We want to make sure that from our standpoint, clients are looked after in the sense that they not only have a good product, but there's as little as possible to do on their end as well once we do the initial consult and get things in place. And nobody likes doing shipping and packing and logistics that I've found. And so if I can take that headache away from somebody, they not only have the good gift and the I guess, the results from that, but they have the headache and the worry of how do I deal with all this stuff lifted off their plate as well.
Okay. If you could go back in time to when you started this business, which was what, 5 years ago?
Yeah, COVID. Yeah.
If you could go back in time to when you began this business, what advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now?
um, I would say the standard of stay the course. It's been an up and down business, especially if you're in it for the long term. And like any sales oriented business, the challenges, you face are out there. But having where I'm at now, knowing where the networking and the meetings I go to and the number of people I've met and seeing the impact that can and will continue to have and grow, that would be, I guess, my best piece of advice. Don't be a salesperson. Be a relationship development help to other people. And it sounds very cliche, but ultimately it comes back in spades or multiples. So I would say that would be the biggest thing is, hold true, look at the long term. Sometimes you don't know how close you are until you get there. And um, ultimately, if you're in service to others and if you're kind of looking from that perspective, then things tend to work out for you.
Now, your business, there's a lot of focus on business development. It's primarily a sales and marketing driven business, I would say. On the operations side of the business and on the finance side of the business, what are your struggles? Do you have anything that you describe as a struggle, maybe with respect to do you keep inventory, or is cash flow ever an issue or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, one of the things, again, there's about seven reasons I use Cutco. And one of them is that I don't have to carry inventory. I don't have to warehouse. I'm as much of a culprit as everybody else. I don't want to have to deal with that stuff. So I have the ability to scale and drop ship and have them warehouse inventory. I don't have minimums, which means I can really look after the client first. So that's a good side. It's not a struggle, but it's definitely something that I didn't want to have to struggle with. Interestingly enough, the Cutco side of it was very much your traditional kind of referral, almost like sales type of business. So it's pretty cash straightforward. You make a sale, you get commission, you have some expenses. The pop-up cards, which are new, is more still not carrying inventory, but it's more in line of a traditional business where you have product that you're working with and it's going through a business channel where you're recording inventory and you've got other things, shipping and stuff directly involved. And then what I have found, going from what was a very simple business model from a financial standpoint, has become a lot more involved than I have been in the past. And keeping on top of that, tracking it, the number of things that are involved with it, those are probably things that I've continue to struggle with, and probably will be things that will continue to find as I grow the business too, which is a good thing, but also a little bit of a headache.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. And it's good to learn about your business. So we've reached a point in the episode where I give you the opportunity to ask me, a fractional CFO, any question about business as it pertains to finance. Do you have anything in mind for me here today, Dean?
It's funny that you led into this with that previous question, because I would say that's exactly my question. Previously, when I know what a CFO is, I learned about fractional and so on, but I didn't need one in my business. I know large companies with the full C-suite have a CFO. That makes sense too. But I never understood where or when to pull that trigger. You don't go from nothing to everything all at once. So fractional makes sense. But how do I or any business, how do we identify when we actually have that need, when things have gotten to the point where we need to make that transition? Is there any advice that way?
Yeah, I can give you some guidelines there. You're absolutely correct. Every large business has a CFO or a chief financial officer, and that person is providing executive level leadership and management on the finance side of the business. They are collaborating with the other key stakeholders in the business, the other leaders of the business, to make sure that the business progresses from wherever it is at to where it wants to be. But they're looking after primarily the finance side. And every small and mid-sized business generally can't afford a full-time on-staff CFO because it's an executive position. It could cost $250,000 a year or more. But that's where the fractional CFO comes in. And a fractional CFO brings to the table for small and medium-sized businesses all of the key components that you need to be effective financially. So it brings financial intelligence to the organization, financial effectiveness, financial leadership. And the time to begin that, I would say, is when you're at the point where you need to leverage your time and you need to leverage your expertise. So when a company is just beginning, or depending on the nature of the company, when the owner of the business can look after all of the details of the business and there's lots of time, it's more of a hobby, then you don't need a fractional CFO. But when you get to the point where you've run out of hours in the week and what you are really good at, you don't have enough time to do more of, and what you're not so good at or what you don't really enjoy, when you realize that you need somebody who's a little bit better at it than you. Like if you're keeping all the math in your head regarding your cash flow and cash flow is beginning to become a problem, it's time to start speaking with a fractional CFO. If you're trying to manage your budget for the next year, or you're trying to figure out, I want to hit this target by this time next year, or I want to hit this other target by 5 years from now. If you're not sure how to chart the course along the path to get there from all points of view in your business, so that's operations, sales and marketing, and finance, it's time to start speaking with a fractional CFO, because a fractional CFO is going to do the heavy lifting for you, provide the guidance, and make sure that you got the tips of the iceberg. A full-time CFO is going to be whatever, 40 to 60 hours a week, X number of weeks per year. A fractional CFO isn't going to be there full time, but they are going to make sure that you do have key performance indicators in place that'll help you understand and interpret what's going on financially in your business. They're going to make sure that you've got a budget and a rolling forecast in place so that you can see where you're going. You're not just looking in the rearview mirror at what happened and understanding that, which is important, but you also understand what's going on in the foreground, and what you can likely expect with your business. And when you make changes, or when you are considering making strategic changes in the business, you can see what impact those changes will have on the financial statements. And that's incredibly enlightening, and it's freeing too, because it takes your vision of success, whatever that is, and translates it into numbers and provides the guardrails to make sure you don't get into trouble. And when you've got that, it can free up your mind, lets you sleep at night, and you can focus on what you really do best. And then when you need to spend a little bit of extra time on the finance area, that person's there to be your go-to person to have those constructive, robust discussions. But when you've had those discussions, a fractional CFO, I can take that information away, work on it, get back to you and report, here's where we're at. So it does make a difference in a lot of ways. I believe that a lot of small and mid-sized businesses leave it a little bit late. Somebody should be in place to look after that component of the business earlier than they tend to realize. And I think part of the reason for that is most companies have a bookkeeper or a method of record keeping in their company. Most companies have a tax accountant. It's important to pay your taxes. And I think the majority of the companies realize that. But there's so much more in between bookkeeping and tax accounting, right? And that's what a CFO does. And for a small and medium-sized business, it's the financial planning and analysis, the KPIs, the raising funds in some cases, management accounting, so much more. And you don't need all of it all of the time, but you need somebody looking at it and considering it and bringing it to the table for you when you're trying to decide what to do with your business.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, learning in the last couple of years, especially talking to many fractional CFOs and other positions. I was probably one of those typical businesses that said, got a bookkeeper, so my records are there. I've got an accountant, so my finances are looked after, and I'm trying to run the business and grow sales. And I didn't even know that I needed a CFO, much less what it was and when to bring it in.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect a lot of people, a lot of solopreneurs and smaller businesses are probably in the same boat. And for the same reason, they don't even know what they need until after they need it, which is why they get it after they should have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's been our experience too. And in some cases, if you are a one-man band, or maybe you have a couple of employees and you're not really planning on growing, you're just trying to stay in the steady state, then it may not be the best time. It's more a situation where you're looking at making changes in your business, or you're looking at scaling. That's when it's really super important. You might be able to hold on in a sort of a steady state position. But the reality is, in this world, if you're not swimming upstream, you're kind of floating downstream, right? Like it's hard to stay the same. And so it really does help to have that set of eyes on that component of the business. And I will say it doesn't cost anything to talk to a fractional CFO. At least it doesn't cost anything to have an initial consultation with me. It's worth it to have that discussion and just see what you might be missing, and see if it might be a fit for you. If not now, then in the future. So that's what I would recommend.
But I kind of think back, and one thing I would say you definitely aren't is the chief accountant,
Right.
which is kind of like, you're like a sophisticated bookkeeper / accountant, and I don't think that's what a CFO is anymore, although that's where maybe a lot of people do think.
Yeah, you're correct with respect to that. A lot of people just don't understand the accounting function. They really understand business development if that's a big part of what they do, like in your example, or if they're a construction company, or if they're tradespeople, they really understand the operations side, and they must be okay at business development, or there wouldn't be a business. But the financial side, that's a bit of a black box. They don't know what they don't know, what they're missing. And if somebody's coming out of a large company, they might have a better idea of what's all involved. But really is worth looking into. If you've got a business, you're looking at growing, you've had some success, then by all means, it's a big part of one of the next steps that you should be
Yeah.
building into your project plan.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, well, and this, yeah, it's been a good conversation, Dean. I appreciate your question too, by the way. So now we're at the end of the show. What I would like to say is, for anybody out there who is watching and thinks that this has been interesting in any way, feel free to share it, or please share it with others. We'd like to get the word out about Dean and his product and his business. And Dean, I'll give you the final word. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about your business or what you're doing, or anybody out there who may want to hear a message from you?
Well, I think the Cutco is rare enough, and there's lots of opportunity there. And I think a thing a lot of people miss is the minutia. It's the little things that we do and why we do them. A lot of times it doesn't take me much to explain to people what I do and why I do it, but the understanding and the thought behind that is what's not apparent. So I'd love to have that discussion, much like yourself. I have discovery calls all the time, and no charge or anything like that. And then on the pop-up card, it's a novel kind of thing, but we actually custom build the 3D models in the pop-up cards. Everybody knows what a pop-up card is, but if you can imagine designing it to your own specs, your own company, your own industry, and building whatever it is you want, nobody else does that. I can actually say every single person I've talked to and showed them to loves them. So if you're looking for something creative and new and something different, then love to talk to you and show you that as well.
Dean, you mentioned something, and just in case you were wrong, what if everybody doesn't know what a pop-up card is? Give us a quick explanation. Hold something up if you can. And
Yeah, oh yeah, we're on video. Well, here's a good example. So thank you card, doesn't matter what it is, but there, like for a realtor or a lender, or mortgage broker, that's
right.
the house. For somebody that, these are the iconic ones. Here's Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
And maybe the coolest thing of all is that we do it in business card size. So if you can imagine, where do most business cards go? They go to the business card grave.
Right.
This one is a pop-up business card.
I love it.
So yeah, I mean, that's the reaction. People smile, they have fun. When you give it out to somebody, they can't help but play with it, hold it, keep it, show other people. And we're the only ones that do it. So it's pretty fun that way.
That's neat. I might be talking to you about that.
Yeah. Okay, I'll show you one more, because we're on a financial side of it. So we can get.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Lots of stuff.
Okay. Well, Dean, hey, thanks a lot for being on the show. Everybody who's watched, thank you for taking a look. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate you. And that's it for today, everybody. Bye for now.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Bye.